In a small town where everyone knew each other, a quiet student named Marcus sat in the back of Mrs. Thompson's classroom, always keeping his head down, never speaking unless called upon, and often dismissed by teachers and peers alike as someone who was uninterested or slow. On the first day of the new school year, Mrs. Thompson, a veteran educator known for her strict approach and sharp tongue, immediately singled Marcus out, mocking him in front of the entire class for not answering a simple question. The words cut through him like ice, but Marcus, as usual, remained silent, lowering his gaze to his notebook, pretending not to care. The classroom erupted in laughter, some students joining in, others shifting uncomfortably, unsure whether to laugh or feel sympathy. Over the weeks, this pattern continued, with Mrs. Thompson making subtle digs and sarcastic comments aimed solely at Marcus, while he quietly absorbed everything, his notebook filling with sketches, notes, and calculations that no one would have suspected held the seeds of brilliance. At home, Marcus's mother tried to encourage him, telling him that people often underestimate the quiet ones, but the daily ridicule weighed heavily on his small shoulders, creating a tension that only grew with time. One day, during a math lesson, Mrs. Thompson, thinking she could embarrass him again, wrote an impossible equation on the board, one that she was sure no student could solve, expecting Marcus to fumble and provide fodder for her amusement. She circled the problem, pointed directly at him, and in her most condescending tone asked, "Marcus, can you solve this, or should I do it for you?" The class stifled giggles, some whispering about how Marcus would surely fail this time. Marcus took a deep breath, picked up his chalk, and started writing. To the astonishment of everyone, his movements were swift and confident, the chalk gliding across the blackboard as he systematically solved the equation, step by step, showing a clarity and depth of understanding that no one in the room had ever seen before. Gasps echoed through the classroom as the impossible solution unfolded, numbers and symbols forming patterns that revealed not only correct answers but an elegance in logic that left even Mrs. Thompson momentarily speechless. As Marcus put the final mark on the board, a hush fell over the room, the laughter replaced by wide-eyed disbelief. Mrs. Thompson, usually quick with a sarcastic retort, simply stared, her mind racing to comprehend how the student she had mocked relentlessly could display such talent. In the days that followed, rumors about Marcus's abilities spread through the school like wildfire. Teachers from other classes came to witness his work, and students who had once ignored him now whispered in awe whenever he walked by. But Marcus remained the same quiet observer, not seeking attention, focused only on learning and exploring the boundaries of his knowledge. One afternoon, the principal, hearing of Marcus's remarkable performance, called him to his office, curious about the young boy who had turned an embarrassing situation into a display of genius. There, Marcus calmly explained the methods he used to solve the equation, demonstrating a level of insight that made even seasoned educators take note. Recognizing a rare talent, the principal decided to connect Marcus with a mentor, a retired mathematician from the local university, who agreed to guide him and help nurture his extraordinary abilities. Word of Marcus's skills eventually reached a regional competition, and though he initially hesitated, unsure of stepping into the limelight after years of being mocked, he was encouraged by his family and mentor to participate. The day of the competition arrived, and Marcus walked in quietly, drawing curious looks from competitors who had heard whispers of his brilliance. The challenge was tough, designed to test the brightest students, but Marcus approached each problem with calm precision, solving them with a creativity that astonished the judges. When the results were announced, Marcus had not only won first place but had set records, breaking barriers that many thought were impossible for someone his age. Back at school, news of his success reached Mrs. Thompson, who was forced to confront the reality of her previous behavior. In front of the class, she called Marcus to the board, this time offering a genuine compliment, acknowledging his skill and dedication. The class, once complicit in his ridicule, now watched in admiration as Marcus, still humble and quiet, accepted the recognition without arrogance, proving that true talent often thrives in silence, waiting for the right moment to shine. But this was only the beginning. Marcus's journey was far from over, and the seeds of resilience, perseverance, and brilliance he had nurtured in the shadows were about to lead him into challenges and opportunities far beyond the walls of his small classroom, where the lessons of patience, courage, and inner strength would continue to unfold in ways no one could yet imagine, setting the stage for a story that would inspire not just his peers, but countless others who had ever been underestimated or dismissed. After Marcus's astounding victory at the regional competition, life at school began to shift subtly but noticeably. Students who had once whispered behind his back now approached him with cautious curiosity, and even teachers who had overlooked him were forced to reconsider their perceptions. Yet Marcus remained the same quiet observer, never flaunting his abilities, and focusing instead on mastering each new challenge that came his way. Despite the sudden attention, he maintained a sense of humility that only heightened the intrigue surrounding him. One day, during a routine science class, the teacher introduced a complex problem involving principles of physics, something that required not only theoretical knowledge but a keen intuition for experimentation. The class groaned collectively, anticipating confusion and struggle, but Marcus's eyes lit up with anticipation, a spark that hinted at his inner confidence. As the teacher attempted to explain the problem, Marcus quietly scribbled notes, diagrams, and calculations in his notebook, connecting concepts in ways that made the solution seem almost inevitable. When the teacher asked for volunteers, no one stepped forward, but Marcus, with a gentle lift of his hand, volunteered. The room fell silent, and whispers spread like wildfire as students wondered how the quiet, unassuming boy could possibly manage such a challenge. With calm precision, Marcus approached the front, and one by one, he articulated the steps to solve the problem, explaining his reasoning clearly and demonstrating a model experiment that illustrated the principles beautifully. The classroom was in awe. Not only had he provided the correct solution, but he had also presented it with a clarity that made even the most confused students grasp complex concepts effortlessly. Mrs. Thompson, who was observing from the back due to a scheduling conflict, was again forced to confront her previous assumptions. For the first time, she realized that mocking Marcus had not only been unjust but had deprived the entire class of witnessing the full potential of his intellect. Outside the classroom, Marcus's life took on new dimensions. His mentor, the retired mathematician, suggested he enter a national-level competition, a move that would test him against the brightest students across the country. Marcus hesitated initially, aware that stepping into such a large spotlight could bring both admiration and scrutiny, but after conversations with his family and mentor, he agreed, motivated by the desire to challenge himself rather than to seek recognition. Preparing for the competition was intense. Marcus spent hours each day analyzing past problems, exploring advanced concepts, and refining his techniques. The quiet hours of study were punctuated by moments of creative insight, where he discovered novel approaches to solving problems that even seasoned competitors had struggled with. Meanwhile, back at school, his peers began to seek his guidance on a range of subjects, from math to science, and even writing. Marcus, ever patient and kind, shared his knowledge generously, never making anyone feel inferior for seeking help. His reputation as a brilliant yet humble student spread quickly, drawing attention from local media and educational organizations. The National Competition Day arrived, and Marcus stepped into a large auditorium buzzing with energy, competitors from across the country preparing their notes and adjusting their strategies. Despite the overwhelming atmosphere, he felt a serene focus, as if all the years of quiet observation, ridicule, and perseverance had led to this moment. Each round of the competition presented unprecedented challenges, testing not only knowledge but creativity, problem-solving under pressure, and the ability to communicate solutions effectively. Marcus approached each problem with his trademark calm and clarity, his pen moving swiftly across the pages, demonstrating a level of insight that impressed judges and competitors alike. As results were announced, Marcus had not only placed among the top finalists but had once again surpassed expectations, his solutions being highlighted for originality and depth. The recognition was immense, but Marcus remained grounded, quietly celebrating with his family and mentor, aware that the journey was far from over. Back at school, the impact of his achievements was profound. Students who had once mocked him were now inspired, realizing that brilliance often comes from those who quietly observe, learn, and persist. Teachers began to reflect on their own biases, recognizing the need to nurture every student's potential rather than judge based on appearances or initial impressions. Mrs. Thompson, in particular, sought to make amends. She personally apologized to Marcus for her earlier behavior, acknowledging that her actions had been unkind and short-sighted. The apology, sincere and heartfelt, marked a turning point not only in their relationship but also in the culture of the classroom, fostering an environment where curiosity, perseverance, and respect were celebrated above mockery or ridicule. Marcus, ever humble, accepted her apology graciously, demonstrating that strength of character was as important as intellectual ability. But as his achievements continued to mount, Marcus began to realize that his journey was no longer just about personal growth or academic recognition. He felt a growing responsibility to inspire others, to show that even those who are underestimated, overlooked, or mocked can achieve greatness if they persevere with focus and integrity. And so, quietly but resolutely, Marcus began planning initiatives to mentor younger students, to create study groups, and to share his knowledge beyond the walls of his school. Each day brought new challenges and opportunities, and each success reinforced the lesson that true talent is nurtured through persistence, humility, and an unwavering commitment to one's goals. Yet, Marcus's story was far from complete. The experiences that had shaped him, the ridicule, the isolation, the moments of doubt, remained part of his identity, fueling his drive and deepening his empathy for others. As he walked the halls of his school, he carried not only the recognition of his achievements but also a sense of purpose, understanding that the impact of his actions could ripple far beyond his immediate surroundings. And so, with each passing day, Marcus continued to grow, quietly transforming his once lonely and challenging school experience into a journey of inspiration, empowerment, and undeniable brilliance, setting the stage for events that would challenge him further, test his resilience in unexpected ways, and reveal the profound truth that those who are underestimated often have the power to change the world. Following Marcus's remarkable success at the national competition, life became a whirlwind of new experiences, challenges, and responsibilities. Invitations from academic organizations, local media interviews, and mentoring requests began pouring in, each demanding his time and focus. While Marcus remained humble and grounded, he also began to feel the weight of expectation, not only from his peers and teachers but from the world around him, who now saw him as a prodigy destined for greatness. With this new attention came unforeseen pressures: the curiosity of classmates who wanted to know his every secret, the scrutiny of teachers who now evaluated every action he took, and the subtle envy of students who once mocked him but now sought to measure themselves against his achievements. Despite the chaos, Marcus continued to prioritize his learning, knowing that the real measure of his growth was not recognition but mastery of knowledge and the ability to help others. One afternoon, a challenging new problem was presented by the principal during a special advanced seminar for gifted students. It was designed not just to test knowledge but to push creativity, logical reasoning, and the ability to collaborate under pressure. Marcus, naturally reserved, was paired with a group of students he had never worked with before. At first, tensions ran high, as each member of the group wanted to lead and assert their ideas. Marcus, sensing the brewing conflict, quietly took on the role of mediator, listening attentively to each suggestion, weighing the merits of each approach, and guiding the group toward a cohesive solution. His calm and thoughtful leadership allowed the group to merge their individual strengths, producing a solution far beyond what any single student could have accomplished alone. Witnessing this, the teachers and administrators were struck not only by his brilliance but also by his maturity, empathy, and ability to inspire others without dominating the spotlight. Meanwhile, outside of school, Marcus's reputation had begun to attract attention from a national foundation dedicated to supporting young talents. They offered him a scholarship to attend a prestigious summer program designed for exceptional students across the country, providing access to world-class mentors, advanced coursework, and unique opportunities for growth. Accepting the scholarship meant leaving the familiar walls of his school, his friends, and his hometown behind for several months, a daunting proposition for someone who had always preferred the quiet and predictable rhythm of his daily life. After long discussions with his family and mentor, Marcus decided to seize the opportunity, understanding that growth often required stepping out of comfort zones and embracing challenges that seemed intimidating at first. The summer program proved to be everything Marcus had hoped for and more. Surrounded by other gifted students, he was exposed to advanced concepts in mathematics, science, literature, and technology, all presented in ways that pushed the boundaries of conventional education. Yet, what stood out most to Marcus were the relationships he built with his peers, students from diverse backgrounds, each bringing unique perspectives and skills, who shared his passion for learning and curiosity about the world. One day, the program organizers announced a major collaborative project, a competition to solve a complex real-world problem that required interdisciplinary thinking, creativity, and innovation. Marcus's team was tasked with designing a solution to improve sustainable energy access in underdeveloped communities. The challenge was immense, combining scientific knowledge, logistical planning, and social awareness, and the deadline was tight. Marcus, true to form, approached the project with quiet determination. He analyzed the data meticulously, proposed innovative strategies, and encouraged each team member to contribute their expertise fully. The work was grueling, often requiring late nights and intense problem-solving sessions, yet Marcus's steady demeanor and sharp mind kept the team focused and productive. The culmination of their efforts was nothing short of extraordinary. On presentation day, Marcus and his team unveiled a comprehensive, practical, and visionary solution that incorporated renewable energy technologies, cost-effective implementation strategies, and community engagement plans. The judges were astounded by the depth, originality, and feasibility of the project, awarding Marcus's team first place, along with special recognition for leadership, collaboration, and innovation. The accolades, though significant, did not alter Marcus's character. He continued to mentor younger students in the program, sharing knowledge freely and inspiring others through example rather than words. Back home, news of Marcus's achievements spread, reaching even the national press and educational leaders who saw in him a symbol of the potential that often lies hidden in quiet, overlooked students. Mrs. Thompson, having followed his journey closely, invited Marcus back to speak to the entire school, eager for the students to witness firsthand the transformation of the boy she had once mocked. When Marcus stood before his peers, he spoke not of accolades or personal glory, but of perseverance, resilience, and the importance of believing in oneself even when others doubt or ridicule you. His words resonated deeply, leaving students and teachers alike inspired and moved. Yet, even as he basked in the admiration and recognition, Marcus felt a quiet restlessness. He knew that true growth was a journey, not a destination, and that the challenges he faced were merely stepping stones toward even greater opportunities. In the quiet moments after the speech, as he walked the familiar hallways of his school, Marcus reflected on the lessons he had learned, that ridicule could be transformed into motivation, that perseverance and humility were as valuable as talent, and that the most profound impact one can have is often on those who feel overlooked, underestimated, or unseen. With this understanding, Marcus prepared for the next chapter of his life, one that promised challenges, discoveries, and experiences far beyond anything he had encountered thus far, setting the stage for even greater accomplishments and a story that would continue to inspire and captivate anyone who doubted the quiet power of resilience, intelligence, and unwavering determination. Returning home after the summer program, Marcus found that life at school had subtly shifted yet again. His classmates now regarded him with a mix of awe, curiosity, and newfound respect, and while some students still struggled with envy, most had learned to appreciate the quiet strength he carried. Marcus, however, remained unchanged in demeanor, humble, patient, and focused on learning and helping others. Yet, the real test of his growth was not in competitions or recognition, but in facing the social and emotional challenges that came with being thrust into the spotlight. One day, during a particularly challenging project in his advanced science class, Marcus noticed that one of his peers, a shy girl named Elena, was struggling to keep up. She had always been quiet, much like Marcus had been, and he recognized in her the same fear of ridicule and the hesitancy to speak up that he had once felt. Without drawing attention to himself, Marcus approached her quietly, offering guidance and encouragement. His calm presence and thoughtful explanations gradually allowed Elena to participate more confidently, and by the end of the project, she was presenting ideas with clarity and poise, impressing both teachers and classmates. This moment was a revelation for Marcus. He realized that the greatest impact one could have was not in personal achievements alone, but in helping others discover and embrace their own potential. As the school year progressed, Marcus continued to face challenges that tested his intellect, resilience, and emotional maturity. Teachers introduced increasingly complex problems, group projects demanded collaboration under pressure, and the expectations of peers and mentors continued to rise. Yet, with each obstacle, Marcus demonstrated an ability to remain calm, analyze situations carefully, and lead with empathy and wisdom. His reputation as both a brilliant student and a compassionate peer began to spread beyond his school, attracting the attention of local educational foundations and national academic programs. Invitations to speak, mentor, and participate in special initiatives became frequent, offering him opportunities to inspire others on a larger scale. Despite the growing attention, Marcus remained grounded, aware that true growth and fulfillment came from continuous learning and from uplifting others, rather than seeking accolades or public recognition. One particularly significant event occurred when the school announced a statewide academic challenge, a competition designed to test students on interdisciplinary problem-solving, critical thinking, and creative application of knowledge. Marcus was naturally selected to represent his school, but this time, the challenge was even more intense, involving not just intellectual skill but also ethical reasoning and teamwork under stressful conditions. The competition was held over several days, with participants facing simulations, real-world scenarios, and collaborative tasks that required them to think beyond traditional classroom learning. Marcus approached each task with methodical precision, but he also displayed remarkable leadership, empathy, and adaptability, guiding his team through high-pressure moments with calm and clarity. During the final round, the challenge presented a moral dilemma intertwined with a technical problem, designed to test both intellect and character. Marcus's team was tasked with devising a solution to a complex environmental and social issue, balancing technological feasibility with ethical responsibility and societal impact. While some teams faltered under the pressure, Marcus's guidance allowed his team to approach the problem thoughtfully, weighing each option carefully, and ultimately presenting a solution that was both innovative and ethically sound. The judges were astonished, praising not only the technical brilliance of the solution but also the maturity, collaboration, and ethical awareness demonstrated by Marcus and his team. This victory was a defining moment, marking not just personal achievement but also the culmination of the lessons Marcus had learned over years of perseverance, quiet determination, and selfless effort to help others. Back at school, the story of Marcus's journey, from the quiet, ridiculed student to the brilliant, compassionate leader, became a source of inspiration for every student, teacher, and parent. His journey showed that intelligence, empathy, humility, and resilience together create a lasting impact far greater than any single accomplishment. Mrs. Thompson, who had once mocked him, now spoke of Marcus to colleagues as an example of the transformative power of patience, understanding, and encouragement. She encouraged other teachers to recognize the potential hidden in every quiet or overlooked student, realizing that early judgment and ridicule could deprive the world of extraordinary talent. Marcus himself, while humbled by the recognition and respect he now received, remained focused on the future. He continued to mentor younger students, participate in academic programs, and seek new challenges, all while remembering the experiences that had shaped him: the ridicule, the doubt, the quiet hours of study, and the unwavering support of his family and mentor. These experiences had not only nurtured his intellect but also strengthened his character, instilling in him a deep sense of empathy, resilience, and purpose. As Marcus walked the halls of his school, he reflected on the journey that had brought him from a quiet, mocked student to a respected leader and role model. He understood that his story was not just about personal triumph, but about the potential within every individual, the power of perseverance, and the importance of lifting others along the way. And as he prepared for future challenges, both academic and personal, Marcus carried with him the knowledge that true greatness is measured not by recognition alone, but by the ability to transform one's struggles into strength, inspire those around us, and leave a lasting impact that transcends the boundaries of the classroom, community, and even the world beyond. As the final months of the school year unfolded, Marcus found himself reflecting deeply on his journey. The challenges, the ridicule, the unexpected victories, and the opportunities to guide and inspire others. The quiet student who had once been mocked now stood as a symbol of resilience, intelligence, and empathy. But Marcus understood that true fulfillment was not in accolades or public recognition, but in making a meaningful difference in the lives of others. One day, the school announced a mentorship program designed to pair exceptional students with struggling peers, aiming to cultivate confidence, curiosity, and resilience. Marcus was asked to serve as a mentor, and without hesitation, he accepted, recognizing the chance to help others as both a responsibility and an opportunity to continue growing himself. He was paired with a group of students who had often been overlooked or dismissed, each carrying insecurities, fears, and doubts about their abilities. Marcus approached them not as a teacher or authority figure, but as a guide and listener, taking time to understand their individual challenges, encouraging their strengths, and helping them navigate setbacks without judgment or criticism. Over time, the students began to flourish under his mentorship. Shy voices became confident, hesitant ideas transformed into bold proposals, and moments of frustration were met with thoughtful problem-solving and calm reassurance. The changes were subtle at first, but soon the classroom buzzed with energy, curiosity, and collaboration, a stark contrast to the fear and uncertainty that had once dominated. Marcus's impact went beyond academics. He encouraged creativity, celebrated small victories, and helped his mates embrace failure as a stepping stone rather than a setback. In doing so, he demonstrated the power of patience, empathy, and persistent encouragement, lessons he had learned firsthand through years of ridicule, doubt, and perseverance. One particularly memorable day, a student who had once mocked Marcus approached him quietly after class. With visible hesitation and nervous energy, she apologized for the time she had belittled him, admitting that she had failed to see his potential and had let her assumptions cloud her judgment. Marcus accepted her apology graciously, offering encouragement and reassurance, showing once again that strength is measured not by resentment but by the ability to forgive and inspire. Meanwhile, Marcus's own academic journey continued to flourish. Invitations to speak at conferences, participate in specialized programs, and collaborate with experts in various fields became more frequent. Yet, each new opportunity was met with humility and reflection, as Marcus prioritized learning, personal growth, and the ability to positively impact others over the pursuit of fame or recognition. The culmination of the school year brought with it a statewide academic showcase, where Marcus and his mates were invited to present their projects, share their insights, and demonstrate the skills they had developed. On the day of the showcase, the auditorium was filled with students, educators, parents, and local leaders, all eager to witness the work of the school's brightest minds. Marcus and his mates took the stage, presenting innovative projects, thoughtful solutions to complex problems, and stories of personal growth that resonated deeply with everyone present. The audience was captivated, inspired not only by the technical brilliance displayed but by the spirit of collaboration, perseverance, and empathy that Marcus had nurtured in those around him. When it came time for Marcus to speak, he addressed the crowd with quiet confidence, sharing the lessons he had learned from his own journey. The importance of patience, resilience, empathy, and the belief that even the quietest voices can have a profound impact when given the opportunity to shine. His words, delivered with sincerity and humility, moved many to tears, inspiring students, teachers, and parents alike to reevaluate how they perceive and nurture potential. Back in his classroom after the showcase, Marcus reflected on the full circle of his journey. From being the quiet student mocked by Mrs. Thompson, to the prodigy recognized nationally, to the mentor guiding others toward their own potential. He understood that success was not measured by personal accolades alone, but by the lives one touches, the confidence one builds in others, and the resilience one cultivates in the face of adversity. Mrs. Thompson, witnessing Marcus's growth and influence firsthand, spoke to the school board about the transformative power of nurturing students with patience and respect, acknowledging that her early ridicule had been a mistake. Her acknowledgement became a lesson for the entire faculty, emphasizing the need to look beyond first impressions and to cultivate the potential hidden in every student. As the school year drew to a close, Marcus continued to explore new challenges, take on opportunities for growth, and inspire those around him. He remained humble, curious, and dedicated, knowing that the journey of learning, growth, and impact was ongoing and limitless. In the quiet moments between his studies and mentorship, Marcus reflected on the journey that had brought him here: the ridicule, the isolation, the victories, the guidance of his mentor, and the unwavering support of his family. Each experience had shaped him, strengthening his intellect, character, and empathy, and instilling in him the understanding that greatness is not merely about achievement, but about resilience, humility, and the ability to lift others along the way. And so, Marcus's story concluded its current chapter not with an ending, but with a beginning, the beginning of a life devoted to learning, inspiring, and transforming the lives of those around him. A life that proves that even the quietest, most overlooked students can rise to extraordinary heights when perseverance meets opportunity, when kindness meets brilliance, and when resilience meets unwavering belief in oneself. The boy who had once been mocked had become a beacon of hope, inspiration, and transformation, leaving a legacy that would resonate far beyond the walls of his classroom, encouraging countless others to embrace their potential, rise above doubt, and understand that their own stories, like Marcus's, have the power to shock, inspire, and change the world.